Hey everyone, C-Stan here with the Lord of the Rings The Living Card Game. And after many requests, I am here with a Rossiel deck. For the longest time, I didn't want to create any sort of Rossiel deck because I typically show one or two player decks on the channel. And Rossiel just seemed to be more of a 3 or 4 player type deck where you see a lot of the encounter deck and can get a little more use out of the doors closed and things like that. So that's sort of the reason why it's taken me so long to come out with a Rossiel solo deck. But with Arwen, I've kind of just been experimenting, putting Arwen into sort of every kind of deck, and found that she makes them all better. So I decided to pair her up with Rossiel and see if Arwen could make Rossiel work in solo play. And I think she does. It's not really a beat them all type deck. Rossiel still does favor quests where the enemies all share like a common trait, or where the locations all share a common trait, so that she can use her abilities. But I feel like Arwen definitely provides some very much needed resource acceleration to pay for the victory display cards if you ever leave secrecy, which you end up doing quite a lot. And she also can pay for quite a bit of threat reduction herself. So you saw in the first turn, I played 2 Elrond's Councils, and that got me down to secrecy level, and that allowed me to play Out of the Wild on turn 1, getting an enemy out of play into the victory display. She also provides very good card draw with Elven Light and threat reduction with Galadrim's Greetings, which if you draw it on your first turn, you can play. So you discard a card to Arwen, get her to 2 resources, and then during the quest phase, Theodred gives his resource to Arwen, and you get to 3, and you can lower yourself down to 20, and it allows you to get into secrecy on the first turn, and that's really good because you can potentially play Out of the Wild, or you can play Risk Some Light, and Risk Some Light is a great first turn opener because you basically get to set up your first 3 turns of the game in whatever order you want, and that's excellent for this deck because it is kind of slow to get started, but it makes up for that in the scrying and the threat reduction and staying low threat. So you'll see I haven't had to engage any enemies yet because my threat's well below their engagement cost of 38. I also haven't been traveling to those locations in the staging area because in the Fate of Numenor quest, when you travel to one of those locations, it just gets replaced by another one. So you don't actually save any threat in the staging area. All you end up doing is you turn up an active location, and it could potentially do something harmful. So right now, I'm just trying to set up. So I'm just leaving the locations there. And I've been failing the quest a few times now. I'm already at 30 threat. But I still don't have to engage anything because the enemies have engagement costs of 38 and 35. So we got the steward out. Now it's just a matter of time before we're completely set up, because we got tons of resource generation on Arwen, and we've got Elven Light, so we can turn all those resources into cards if we need to. So pretty much the resource and card draw engine is set up. We just need to survive a little bit longer until then. So I'm questing everyone so that my threat doesn't go up too much. And I'm paying full cost to risk some light. And here we turn up 3 treacheries. And these mysterious fogs, you've got you've got to exhaust a character, or else each Lost Island location in play gets +1 threat. But luckily, Rossiel's there with Unexpected Courage, so that's not really a big loss. I just exhaust Rossiel, and they don't do anything. And so it's kind of nice that I could potentially set those up for the next couple turns and not worry about any extra threat in the staging area, just the exhausting a hero. Okay, so I haven't decided on the order yet here. So this one, you've got to discard the bottom card of your deck, and then if you have to discard all the cards in your hand with a higher cost. So that's potentially pretty bad if the bottom card of your deck is like cost 0 or cost 1. You've got to discard your whole hand. So, but the reason that I'm okay with that is because I have Test of Will, so I can just cancel it. So that's done, and I also pull back Elrond's Counsel to lower my threat by 3 and increase my willpower by 1. And we're short by 3, so our threat goes up 3. So that saves us again from having to engage the enemy there. But we still really need some more willpower to stop our threat from continuing to go up. So I'll probably draw with Arwen a few times. Getting some more Outlands characters would be really beneficial here. Because if I can get enough willpower, then my next couple turns are just going to be smooth sailing, not having to engage anyone or raise my threat at all. So it looks like I'm actually going to wait until the quest phase to draw cards. So I actually incorrectly set my willpower there. I think it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It should be at 11. My leadership Outlands ally actually is supposed to have 2 willpower because of the Ether Swordsman. But I guess I forgot that effect. So all that it will change is well, it won't really change much. I think maybe I haven't seen my Elven Light yet, I guess. Yeah, so I guess I haven't seen Elven Light yet. Which is why I discarded Out of the Wild to boost my willpower up by 1, so that I'd only have to raise my threat by 2, so that I hit 34. Because 35 is the number at which I have to engage that enemy. So it looks like I'm just debating which card I want to get rid of. And in reality, if I had remembered that my willpower from that Outlands ally was 1 higher, then I wouldn't have to discard either card. Okay. I'm just debating whether or not I wanted to engage that enemy. That enemy's got an effect where once you engage him, you have to discard all your cards in your hand, cost 2 or less. So that was maybe that was influencing my decision whether or not I wanted to keep Out of the Wild in hand or the doors closed. Okay, so I drew into Elven Light, and now I can turn my resources into card draw. And so I just did that 3 times in the resource phase and then 3 times in the planning phase. I just kind of do that really quickly now. So basically you discard Elven Light to the Protective Lorien, then you pick it back up, you spend a resource, get a card. And you can do that 3 times per phase. So I just did that 6 times, drew 6 cards. Yeah, it's pretty crazy how powerful that is. Basically going from no hand to full-size hand in one go. Okay, but we didn't draw into another Ether Swordsman, which would have saved my willpower. But we did draw into Elrond's Council, so we'll be able to, again, stay below 35 threat this round. And we get that that card that does nothing if we exhaust Rossiel. So, okay, I draw 3 more cards in the quest phase and boost my willpower up by 3. Okay, and I've also got to reduce my... So we quest successfully, but I got to reduce my threat so that I don't engage him. He's not a terrible enemy, but I mean, there's just no reason to be fighting him right now if I can't kill him, so I'll just stay under 35. And I could have reduced my threat by 3 more because I had Dwarven Tomb in hand, but it just wasn't necessary. Okay. So now we can set up the rest of the next 3 cards if we want to pay for risk some light. But we also have Out of the Wild in hand. If we want to play that card and remove some of the nasty stuff in the counter deck. We also have Gladrim's Greetings. We could lower our threat by quite a bit. Okay, so we'll search the top 3. And we're going to set the Drowned Dead out front because I've got a Drowned Dead in the victory display. So I'll be able to shut the door on that guy. Okay, we've got a Surging Enemy. Normally I'd put Surge cards on the bottom. And then we've got a Treachery. It gives Doom 2, and it forces you to put another Lost Island location into the staging area for the rest of the game. So it's pretty bad, like a constant 2 threat in the staging area for the whole game. But, I mean, at this point, our deck is going to just steamroll into insane willpower, so that's not really much of a concern. So, once the Outlands hit the table, questing is no longer an issue. Okay, we quest Rossiel. We have to, so that she gets Theodred's resource and can close the door on the Drowned Dead. So there's one use of doors closed, thanks to my turn 1 Out of the Wild. And our threat's under 35, so we don't have to do any combat. Alright, so at this point we just kind of draw some more. Trying to get a full board of Outlands. So the first one, my first discard was for Arwen, and then now I'm discarding to Protector. I only did it once. Okay, so I grab the Knights of the Swan that I had put on the bottom of my deck earlier. Because what I'm going to do now that I drew into a Good Harvest is play a Good Harvest and get all 3 of my warriors down on the bottom. Okay, and then so what I did there is I used the ally, the objective ally. he can swap a card in your hand with a card on the bottom of your deck. So instead, I decided to put Galadrim's Greeting on the bottom. The reason for that is you get punished for having cards on the bottom of your deck that are cost 2 or less. So Galadrim's Greeting, you'll be able to avoid the penalty. And also, I'm not too concerned about discarding Galadrim's Greeting because I have Dwarven Tomb in my hand. So if I do need the threat reduction from that, I can always just get it back. At this point, I could try and aggressively push my threat down to get back into secrecy. But, and that would be perfectly fine. Like, I could have not put that Galadrim's Greeting on the bottom and instead played both of them and then used Dwarven Tomb and played a third. That would have taken me an extra turn to pay for all that. But I could have got back down into secrecy and played Out of the Wild and Resourceful. But at this point in the game, I'm valuing my card draw more, so I've been using my resources for Elven Light. And I'm also going to be using them to get back Elven Light for the purposes of Protector of Lorien, so that Rossiel has some willpower and defense. And notice I still haven't traveled to any Lost Island locations. There hasn't been much reason for me to do that. I've been basically failing the quest each round, so I wouldn't have gotten any progress on the active location anyway. Okay, so we finally engage an enemy, and that's because I know sort of that I can kill him now. I can defend with Rossiel, who will have 4 defense against him because he's undead. And then my 3 Knights of the Swan, who are each at 3 attack, will be able to dispatch him. Okay, so the top card of my deck is Resourceful. So basically all that means is he does not get his +2 attack. It's fine. I wouldn't have minded that anyway. So here we go. We got to discard the bottom card of our deck. And so it's good that I decided to do that, so that we avoid that shadow effect, which is for him to make an additional attack. Okay, I drew into Resourceful. Surprise, surprise. I got lots of resources on Arwen. So I'm going to spend 3, draw 3 cards. Didn't get any more Outlands allies like I wanted. I might try to draw now. This is in the planning phase. We got a copy of None Return, which is just 1 turn too late. Ideally, you want to get at least 1 Resourceful down on Rossiel if you're not in secrecy, because if you're in secrecy, then you're Out of the Wilds and your Rissum Lights are really cheap. So it's not a big deal for her to have resource acceleration. But if you're paying full price for those, then you really want to be getting more resources on Rossiel so she can keep up her lore stuff. Okay, so I drew into this location, which allows you, once you explore, to look at the opposite side of one of the Lost Islands. So that can help you decide if you want to go to a certain location or not. So still taking it slow. I'm just going to leave those enemies up there. Really want to draw into my last Ether Swordsman. That'll get me enough questing to start being successful each round. Okay, out of the wild. We're going to look for a card to send to the victory display. We got a couple treacheries which aren't so bad. Just removing willpower from the quest. We got an undead enemy. And then we got this card, Treachery. Deal a damage to each ally, printed cost 2 or less. So definitely putting that one in the victory display. No question. So that's a game ender if you can't cancel that for Outlands. So now I have two chances to cancel it, because I can close the door or Test of Will it. Yeah, I mean, it's not so bad if you got a Test of Will waiting for it, but it's good to just not have to deal with that. So save the Test of Will for something else. For other quests, you might consider also including Amphalas Herdsman in the deck, because they give all your Outlands allies more hit points and prevent something like that from just totally ruining your game. But I didn't include them here like deliberately, because I wanted to make more space for the victory display stuff, and I figure with all the canceling, I'd be able to avoid letting them all die. Okay, Surge, Undead, Throngs of Unfaithful. Okay. So when he's destroyed, you got to discard the bottom card of your deck. And if the cost is 2 or less, you have to return the Throngs back to the top of the encounter deck. Okay, we get to shut the door on Drowned Dead again. So that first Out of the Wild has been really paying off. I think the Drowned Dead just cannot get into play in this scenario. Just keeps hitting the door. Okay. We successfully quested and cleared the plateau, placing the 3 progress from it onto the active quest. So this is the only way you can actually place progress on the quest. You cannot place progress by questing normally. You have to travel to a location first, and then the active... Then once you explore it, then the progress gets placed on the active quest. Alright, we flipped it over, but it's not anything important. All that the active location is doing, I guess I moved the mouse off it too quickly, it's just adding its threat to the staging area. Rossiel defends, no shadow effect, and now, when he's destroyed, we can discard the bottom card of my deck. Now, I happen to know that card does cost 2 or less. So I'm not going to kill him. I'm going to wait, and then next round I'll be able to use my objective ally to swap a card to the bottom of my deck that is higher than cost 2. And that'll allow me to kill the enemy without putting it right back on top. Because, I mean, there's no point in killing the enemy if you're just going to get him next round surging. It's actually a negative effect, because you now have that threat in the staging area. Okay, I drew into my 3rd Ether Swordsman, play him down, and now we can quest for lots and lots. So all the Outlands allies get +3 willpower, so that's 12 right there. 13, 14, 15. And then okay, so maybe I misread the active location, I think. It's not the one that adds its threat to the staging area. It's the one that did it say it prevents characters of 2 willpower and less? Yeah. So characters less than 2 willpower do not ready. Or is it 2 or less? They don't ready in the refresh phase. So I didn't get to ready my objective ally, unfortunately. We reveal another servant of the deceived. Not a big deal. We're at 33 threat. We won't have to deal with him if we don't want to. So we just have to deal with... Okay. We're going to boost our willpower, looks like, since Rossiel is not committed to the quest. We're going to boost our willpower by 1 using Dwarven Tomb and Elrond's Council, lowering our threat by 3, and clearing that active location. Okay, so we get to draw a card. Yeah. So that's actually one of the nicer locations. You get to draw a card and then choose a card from your hand and put it on the bottom of your deck. So that helps us out a lot because now it allows me to kill this enemy. Because now I know Resourceful's on the bottom of my deck, so he's not going to go right back on the top of the counter deck. Alright, and we play None Return so that he is in the victory display. Which is really nice because I love having Surge cards in the victory display because the Door is Closed is one of the few cards that actually cancels Surge. Yeah. So that first location, it was characters that with less than 2 willpower that do not ready during the refresh phase. So maybe I misread that. I guess so. Rossiel should have been ready. But yeah, wasn't a big deal because I had all those Ether Swordsmen out. All the Outlands allies got to ready. Alright, we drew into Risk Some Light, but we don't have enough resources on Rossiel yet. So the idea will probably be to quest with her and give Theodred's resource to her in order to get her resources up. Okay. Alright, we quest for 16, 20, 23, 24. Okay, we're actually just going to put the resource on Arwen instead. And okay, we change our mind. So Rossiel will quest and get the resource because Risk Some Light is really what we want to be playing. We want to know what the next 3 cards are. Alright, looks like we got to add another Lost Island location to the staging area. and Doom 2. Not a big deal. It's just going to be sort of a static 2 threat there. But at this point, we don't really care too much. So adding up all the threats in the staging area, we have more than enough to fully complete this location. And place all the progress onto the main quest. Alright. Probably going to deal with that 35 threat enemy anyway, because we can. But first we travel to a location. And Flooded Ruins, so it contributes its threat to the staging area. I haven't been playing Leave No Trace because I really want to be playing with some light next round. Okay, here I just realized in the rules that when a Lost Island location gets explored, it needs to be shuffled back into the Lost Island deck. So I forgot to do that after I completed that location. Okay, but now it's fixed. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to put two-sided locations into the main encounter deck anyway. So, but the typical octagon delete button puts it there by default. So I just had to go back there and manually move it. Alright, so we discard the bottom card of our deck. He gets +2 attack. Sorry, it's actually, you just look at the top card of your deck and then you put it on the bottom. So I looked at the top card and it was a Leadership Outlands ally. So then he gets +2 attack and I put that card on the bottom of the deck. But +2 attack isn't a big deal. It brings him up to 5, but Rossiel defends for 4 thanks to her ability. So really you just have to discard one card to Protector of Lorien to get her up to 5 defense. Okay, now that the victory display has 5 cards in it, I will play Keen as Lances, lower my threat, lower my threat. I don't really need resources or cards, so. Alright. Okay, pull Elven Light back to hand, start drawing. Discard it once for Protector. Or no, I discarded it once for Arwen, I think, and then pulled it back. Alright, now it's kind of a little late, but we do finally get Resourceful on Rossiel. And I do that because I don't have a lot more use for my leadership or spirit resources. You'll see I only have 2 cards left in my deck. And Arwen's generating +3 for the discard 4 resources around, so she doesn't need more resources. But instead, I use my objective ally, grab the last Outlands ally that got put on the bottom of my deck last round, and use up Theodred's resources that way. And I thought that was just a better use of my resources this round than Resourceful. Okay, so the most of our time now is just going to be spent counting up willpower. So we got 23, 24. Quest Rossiel as well, 26, and give Theodred's resource to her. Okay. We got the Throngs, and we get to shut the door on them. So this is just, it feels so great when you get to do that. You get to not only cancel a Surge, but cancel the whole card. Get a free turn for one resource. It's just marvelous. That's really the whole payoff of this deck. That's why you play it. The door is closed. Okay, and for that location that just left play, I want to play Leave No Trace on it. So I think I accidentally already discarded it, so I'm just gonna grab it back from the Lost Island deck. Because it is a ruins location, and I don't have one of those. There we go. Alright, so we'll just put it back, shuffle it up. There we go. So now we have a ruins location there. And that'll boost Rossiel's willpower whenever we are going to explore ruins locations. Okay, and we got another one. Same deal. Adds its threat to the staging area. We don't ever really want to engage those enemies that are up there. I'm going to leave them there permanently. So those are the guys that you've got to discard cards of cost 2 or less from your hand. That's a lot of my hand. So I'm not going to do that. Alright, we can get Good Harvest down to help us pay for some lore stuff. So we risk some light. And that's actually not a bad 3 cards. The Plateaus are one of the best cards you can see in this whole quest. They just add 1 threat, and they help you. They actually help you discover the locations you want to go to. So there's no reason to put those anywhere. And the 3rd card being that enemy, it's not ideal, but really not an issue for us. We can easily defend that much and attack that much. And also next round my deck is going to be empty, and we get to avoid a lot of the effects in this whole quest. Alright, we pass the active location, get a bunch of progress, and that'll bring us to the next phase. So, we've got to add 2 more Lost Islands to the staging area. And we've got to put the temple into the mix. Okay, so I'm just putting them all in. I'm putting them all in the staging area for now, but we have to shuffle them up so that I don't know which one the Shrine of Morgoth is. Okay, so this is just some technical stuff. We're going to put them all into this box here and shuffle them up. Okay. So they're all mixed up now. We have no idea which one the shrine is, but luckily we have a couple plateaus that we can climb up and look around. And we'll be able to see, hopefully, before too long, where the shrine is and head straight there. Okay. So once we get Shrine of Morgoth into the victory display, we win the game. So all it is a matter of finding it. So we'll travel to the plateau. Nothing to do combat-wise. So we start the next turn. Grab our resources here. At this point, this is kind of superfluous. I know exactly what's coming next, and I got more than enough willpower to quest successfully. So that's 24 right there. We've got quite a bit in the staging area, though. So we will have to quest almost everyone. Got 21. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so 24 plus 4, 28. And success. So it gets discarded. And we get to look at one of these cards, and that's not the shrine. Okay, that's fine. We can just travel to the other plateau and look in another direction. Okay, real quick, add resources, quest everybody again. Enemy comes in. We got more than enough willpower here. I believe it's like 28 for us, and less than that for them. Okay, we looked at another location, and it wasn't the shrine, so we went to a third location, and it was the shrine. So 3 out of 7 is not too bad. It's a little better than average. Okay. So we cannot search our decks, but that's no problem because there is no deck. All right. We do, however, have to exhaust allies with a cost 2 or less and put an enemy into play. And I decided for this guy because I don't want his surge to trigger. And I gotta exhaust all my outlands. Not a big deal. I don't plan on actually killing him. We'll just... and I did get to search the deck so for that Outlands ally, so I'm just taking a look at what that one card in the deck was so that I know what the shadow effect is. Perfectly legitimate. You can't really shuffle a deck of one card, so might as well know what shadow card you're getting here. Rossiel defends. She's got 4 defense. And we just don't do anything there. We attack back and deal 1 damage. Just for fun. Alright. Everybody ready? We quest one final time. And for sure, we're going to complete the active. I mean, I'm not sure what card could come out of that encounter deck that would kill us right now. We've got Test of Will in hand to cancel that thing that would kill all my allies. So we just quest 32 and reveal. Well, we can count up the threat first just to make sure. Alright. Might as well quest a few more just to be safe. And alright, well, I'm not even going to read that. I'm just going to cancel it because it's the last turn and I can. Alright, so that'll be it. We certainly quest successfully there. And it goes into the victory display, and that's the win condition. So that's a win for a solo Rossiel deck. Managing to use, I think, most of the victory display cards. I believe we used all 3 Keena's Lances. We used all 3 doors closed. We used a Leave No Trace. We used a couple, 1 or 2 of the enemy cards. All 3 out of the wilds. No, I believe actually we only used 2 out of the wilds. But we did use all 3 Rissum Lights as well. So I would say that's a pretty big success for Rossiel. It's a modern quest, medium difficulty, and it didn't seem like we were close to dying at any point. The ability to change the encounter cards around and know what's coming is just incredibly powerful, and it kind of allows this slow sort of deck to work. And obviously this kind of quest plays right to Rossiel's strength. All the enemies are undead. So once you get 1 in the victory display, you're set in terms of defense. But yeah. So that's my solo Rossiel deck. Although I'm not going to be quick to say can handle any sort of quest. I'll say that again. It's quite quest selective, but it's really fun to play, and the doors closed is just so much fun. I just love the card when it works. And I'm looking forward to taking it to a couple other quests, see if I can beat some sort of nightmare quest with it. I think that would certainly validate it. And I have quite a sideboard for this deck as well. So in the sideboard, I've got Burning Brand for quests that have really nasty shadows, because Burning Brand just works great on Rossiel. But the shadows in this quest weren't so bad, so it's not in here. The side quest that lets you sort the next few cards in the encounter deck and put 1 in the victory display also works great for Rossiel, and works great for quests that have works great for quests that work great for side quests, I guess I should say. There are certain quests where you can't place progress on them, like Assault on Asgiliath, for example. It's a great card for that. And what else do I have in my sideboard? The Amphalas Herdsmen are really good if you need to soak up archery damage, because it gives all your outland allies bonus health. Yeah, so I mean, just check on the link below the video. You can see the full deck list and the sideboard, and an extensive description accompanying the deck as to how it works. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. People have been just hounding me for a Rossiel deck for months and months and months now. And this is what you get. I hope you liked it. I think it's personally medium power. It's not a power deck, but it's maximum fun. Oh man, like, door is closed. That's all I can say. The door is closed.